Hey guys, G-Flam here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use Boot Manager. It's an application by me and Conap. Right here you can see I'm booted to ROM 2. This is my infected ROM, Eternity ROM, on my Evo 3D. I have my phone ROM here, which is Moi. CyanogenMod is in my first slot, and my second slot is the ROM I'm booted to right now. As you can see, the one booted to a slot ROM, it's actually still very responsive. You don't really see too much lag if you can find your SD booster. So once you set your SD booster, you're going to be able to flip through. You can see how responsive. I just spun around and whatnot. Alright, so we're going to open up Boot Manager again, and just because this is going in the market, I'm going to show you real quick the finished product. So what you'll do here is hit Boot ROM at the top, and this little dialog will come up. What that says is just boot phone ROM, and it's just going to ask, I don't know if you can read that on the camera, it's going to ask whether you want to boot this. You hit OK, it'll flash the boot image real quick, and then you'll see it reboot. And to boot between your ROMs, it'll only take just as long as a reboot. So here we go. Here's the boot logo now, HTC white boot logo, and right after this we'll see the Moi boot animation. And here's the boot animation. You can hear the sound from Moi. Soft lights just turned on. And here's the lock screen, and we are now in my Moi ROM, and you can see how quick it is to just reboot between your ROMs like that. You can install up to 5 currently. I have 3 right now installed, and I'm going to show you right now, after I switch over to my screen recorder, how to install and use Boot Manager and how to install a ROM. So I'm going to switch over now, and I'll be right back. Alright, now that we're back, we're going to install Boot Manager. We're going to do this as if it wasn't installed. We'll show you how to set up the phone ROM. We're going to go through all the steps of using the app, and we're going to do everything from scratch. So I'm going to install it right now. I'm going to hit it from Eclipse, and Eclipse is just going to install the source now to my phone, and we'll just go through setting up the phone ROM and do all that. So right now, Boot Manager is just installed. I'm using a key which you can purchase from our website. With a key, you'll get this first dialog. You won't get that otherwise. The keys can be purchased at our website via PayPal, or you can purchase the application in the market. It's $2.99, and it allows you to boot up to 5 ROMs on your phone, switch between them, or just a reboot, as you just saw. When you first open the app, you'll get this dialog saying that we are not responsible for any damage done to your device. You guys know the risks with using root apps and root anything. It's something all devs say, so just hit accept to this and we'll get going. Grant it super user permissions, and now it's going to just fetch all the files it needs, like BusyBox and whatnot, and you'll see the top of the loading bar. It'll just go through that, and you can see the progress of it. Alright, here we are. You'll see this little dialog here, new message. We send out messages to Boot Manager as like a little push notification every once in a while. Please read these. They usually have very important information. We send out like just tips and whatnot. I did a tip of a day for a while, and I've kind of slacked off, I guess, missed a few with the holidays and whatnot, but please read through this. It's usually some important stuff. You can hit OK to close it. Here we are now in the Moi ROM again, and you can see my other slots again. So a few things that's new is if you click the title, you'll see this little quick action pop up like that, and that basically will just let you flip between the ROMs real quick. and you can see it'll add like a little icon. It can kind of guess what ROM is there, and it'll put an icon based on it. And if you click them, it'll just take you to that slot. It's just a quicker way to browse through and whatnot. If you hit the gear, you'll see your extras here. This is just like SD booster, clean cache, and whatnot. We'll talk about the SD boost later, and everything else is self-explanatory. So we'll go back to Moi, and now we're going to set up the phone ROM. Moi is my phone ROM. We'll hit setup phone here. It'll say warning, like only run this if you're in it as in your phone ROM. Do not run it if you're in an SD ROM. Otherwise, you'll have trouble getting back to your phone ROM. We'll talk about later when we go to recovery, how to get back to your phone ROM if you end up forgetting to set your phone ROM up. But make sure to set it up every time you change your phone ROM. So right now I have Moi installed. If I were to install, say, the new Alpha ice cream sandwich ROM to my phone ROM or something, you have to reset it up. You have to update the boot image every time you change your phone ROM. So hit OK, and this should be very quick. It should only take a couple seconds to set the phone ROM up, and you'll see how quick that was. If it takes longer than that, something's wrong. Either uninstall and reinstall the app or reboot your phone or something. It should only be a couple seconds like that. So now let's go into the settings and we'll talk about that. And we have about, quick tips, auto mount SD card, force large boot image. With after version 3.3, we added a smaller boot image we use by default. The smaller boot image just doesn't include BusyBox. The idea was just that the boot images were getting too big for your phone for the boot partition rather, and it would cause a lot of ROMs to not be able to boot because the full boot image wasn't able to be written to the boot partition. If you're having trouble booting ROMs, come in here, click Force Large Boot Image. That'll solve any problems. If you can't, some phones need the larger boot image, but for a lot of other ones, the smaller is better. For my phone, I prefer the small, so we're going to turn that off. You'll see things like disable USB notification. That's just going to only use that in your phone ROM. If you disable it in an SD ROM, you're not going to be able to boot to mount your SD card. You have to use the boot manager notification for the SD card to mount that. The stock one's not going to be able to mount your SD card if you're booted to a slot ROM. In your phone ROM, you can use either ours or the stock one. Manually set variables here. You can just either artificially support your device if it's not officially supported, or you can change the sizes of your images that are created. We recommend keeping the images at the sizes they are. They're just mimicking your phone partitions right now. If you want more space, you can raise them and you'll have more space in your slots to install more apps or whatever it is you keep in your different partitions. If you lower, be careful, because if you go too small, there's not going to be enough room for the ROM to fully extract. So basically you just type in a number here and you'll hit the set button and then finished when you're all done. So then we have UI tweaks. Basically what this does is let you change. You can change from dark to light, or you can change everything about the app here. You can literally change every single color of the app in here. I personally like the red and white and whatnot. I came up with the whole style to it and whatnot. So I did that like twice in a row there. I like the stock color, so I'm going to keep mine as it usually is. But you can change anything. Open a booted ROM page, view pager titles, things like that. Notifications for when a ROM is finished installing. I like vibrate and use sound and whatnot. I'm going to just put vibrate on. You'll see sync call logs and sync SMS. This is something that's not in the market right now. It's something we're working on where you'll actually, this little sneak peek, you can, your text messages and whatnot will be synced between your ROMs, so you can select which ROM should be synced and whatnot. Then you have your change log in here and a couple other things down below. So now that we've gone through all the settings and we see how to set up the phone ROM, you can see manage UI here. You can change the screenshot, ROM name, kernel name, screenshot, something I want to touch on real quick. Something that a lot of people don't know about because they don't read the changelog is if you go out and you long press the search soft button, you'll get this dialog. It says Boot Manager at the top. You can actually take screenshots with Boot Manager now. Boot Manager will let you take a screenshot to set there. As you can see, like I changed the one here for CyanogenMod. Boot Manager could take its own screenshots. You don't need a separate app for that. And then you just have Manage UI and whatnot, so you can just change like the ROM name, or you can change the kernel name, things like that. Just you can customize that how you want. So let's now get to installing a ROM. I'm going to install something to ROM 3 right now. I'm just going to overwrite this. I'll hit install zip. You can install a kernel and restore an Android. If you have a ROM that won't boot via the install zip, you can install it to your phone ROM, make an Android of it, and then restore that Android to your slot. That should be able to get anything booting basically. So I'm going to hit now install zip here. Browse to the your ROM. Mine's in my download folder, and I'm going to install here the Cyanogen ROM here. So I'll hit that, and I'll hit wipe system data and cache. You want to make sure to wipe everything on a new ROM install. Anytime you install a ROM, make sure to wipe everything. These wipes basically will wipe the images. Nothing on your phone will be touched. Nothing on your SD is going to be touched. All your data will be fine. It's just going to wipe the image so that the ROM can extract to it and make the file system. If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to boot the ROM. So make sure you wipe all three for a new ROM install, even if you're overwriting something. Hit install. It's going to ask if I want to overwrite. I do. Here's extension 2, extension 4. It'll ask for its file system. Extension 4 is going to be quicker and more stable. Use that if it says it's detected. Otherwise, use extension 2. Extension 2 is going to be used on your older phones. Like my Droid 1, I use it. But for my Evo 3D, which I'm using now, I want extension 4. And now it's going to go over to a little splash screen we have. And it says that it's running a status bar. And you can see here it's wiping the system image, data, and the cache image will get wiped. And then it'll extract the ROM and whatnot. So I'm going to pick back up after this. So I'm going to end it here, and I'll be back in a few after the install is done. Alright, the install is now done. So I'm going to show you right here. We'll pull down, and you can see install complete now that we're back. We'll hit that, and it'll come up Google Market wasn't detected. I didn't install Google Apps to the ROM, so I'll hit OK, and we're going to install the Google Apps now real quick. So we'll go back to the ROM 3 that I was installing to, install zip again, install zip, go to download, and right here you'll see the Google Apps here. We'll click that. We don't need to wipe anything this time because we're just going to install the Google Apps. It's not a new ROM. We're just going to install them over the ROM. So if your dev tells you to install cache, you may want to do that. Just do whatever you would normally do in recovery. The app works exactly like recovery would. So whatever you do in recovery, do here. So we're going to hit install. Yes, we want to overwrite that ROM. And we'll get the same thing. It'll run from the status bar. And we could just watch this one. Installing your Google Apps is pretty quick. So we'll just let this go through. Alright, install complete. Just press that notification to go back to the app, and this time you see we didn't get that little dialog saying that Google Market wasn't detected because it was this time. We just installed it, so we're good. We'll go back over here, and now I'm going to switch back to the camera, and we'll boot this newly installed ROM, and we'll set it. We'll go through the whole setup wizard and whatnot, and we'll play with the SD booster and whatnot, and then we'll be done. Alright, so we're back, and this now we can see here, this is the ROM we just installed, CyanogenMod. We're going to boot it for the first time. We'll go through the setup wizard and whatnot. It's just asking if I'm sure I want to install boot ROM 3. I hit OK. And same thing as the beginning of the video, it'll just reboot. Your first reboot will take a little longer than normal. We'll see the splash screen here, and the first boot, as always, just takes a little longer. But once we go through this, we'll do the setup wizard and whatnot. Here's the HTC screen again. So we'll go through that real quick. Should see the CM CyanogenMod boot animation pop up real soon. There it is. Alright, so we're booting CyanogenMod 7 now for the first time. This is the one we just installed in the video earlier on. My computer was going to sleep. And there's the soft lights, and this is just saying complete action. I want to do setup wizard. Alright, so here's the setup wizard. You guys are all probably comfortable with this and understand all this stuff. Alright, sign in. I'm going to do this off camera real quick. Alright, and we're signing in now. Alright. Alright, and Google location, whatnot. You guys have all probably been through this a million times, so once we get through the setup wizard, we'll do a couple more things with Boot Manager. We'll show you a couple little things, and this will be the end of the video. So just waiting on this backup restore. You can see here it's just going through a little progress dialog, and you can see here it's pretty flawless. It's just going real smooth. And this is booted to an SD-ROM. The SD-ROMs will lag only until you find your SD booster, and we'll talk about that in a few seconds. But once you find your SD booster speed, your ROMs are going to be completely responsive and work just as your phone ROM will. You won't see any lag or anything like that. So here we are now. We're in CyanogenMod. This is my slot 3 ROM, and a thing Boot Manager does is you can see it here. It auto installs itself in every slot ROM you install, so you always just have it right there. And now we're in our newly CyanogenMod installed ROM. You can see everything's coming up real quick. There's no lag really. It should be just as responsive as always, and we're just going to go right into it real quick, and we'll just go through a few things. Alright, it's just going to do the loading bar again. You guys have all seen this already earlier on in the video. I'm just going to show the SD booster real quick. We'll talk about that, and then we'll show you a couple little tricks in recovery, and that'll be it. Yeah, I'm on right now. You can see I only have 1 bar. Sprint's not the greatest on Evo 3D, but it's actually not too horrible. I came from Verizon, and it's been alright. No complaints yet with Sprint. A little slow to load. Alright, and we just get the little message again. Alright, so now that we're here, we're going to go over to our extras, and it doesn't look like you can read them too well, but you can see here SD booster. The SD booster you want to use in your SD slots, and if I hit this, you can see the different numbers here. For my phone, I use a class 2 card I'm running on right now. The 1024 is going to be the best option for me, but I'll have a link in the description for that. You want to just find your good number here. Once you find your number, your ROMs are going to be completely responsive. I'm running in a class 2 card right now in a slot ROM, and you can see everything's fine. Your higher numbers are going to be for your higher class cards. Bigger isn't always better here. For a class 2 card, you probably want to use the first 4 options here. The 1024 is best for me though, so we'll do that. And once you find your number there, it's going to set it for the other ROMs automatically, and everything will be completely responsive, no lag at all. Here you can see computer's going to sleep again. So now the last thing I want to show you guys is in recovery. So I'm going to reboot now to recovery here, and you can see reboot, and I'm going to just reboot to recovery and hit OK. Now with recovery, you can switch to your other ROMs as well through that. So basically, say a ROM doesn't boot as you wanted it to, and you want to go back to your phone ROM or one of your slot ROMs, just go to recovery and you'll be able to boot to whatever you need from there. We set this up as like a little fail-safe type thing so you don't get kind of messed up. If something doesn't get installed the way you want it to, just go to install zip here from install zip from SD here in Clockwork Mod. We want to go to choose zip from SD here and just browse down to the boot manager folder, which is this one. And here, I don't know if you can read these, it says phone ROM, ROM 1, ROM 2, ROM 3, ROM 4. You can just pick which ROM you want to boot, just go into the folder. If I want to go back to my phone ROM, I'll go into that folder and you'll see update zip. Just hit the update zip, flash it real quick, and it's going to be a very quick flash. You'll see it go through, the progress bar will fly over real quick, and we're done. Now when I reboot my phone, it's going to go back to my phone ROM, which would be my Moy ROM. So rebooting, and I was just in my slot 3, the one we just installed, and now we're going to go right to the phone ROM now through recovery. Here's the HTC, the boot logo again. And here's the boot animation. You can hear the song again, and we're now being Moy. Alright. And that's going to conclude our video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send us an email, stop by the forum. There'll be links in the description. Follow us on Twitter. We have a few more applications coming soon. If you like the app, please leave us 5 stars and comment in the market. We love hearing it. I personally read all of the comments that you guys leave. We read all the emails. We usually respond. We'll respond that day. We're always happy to help. Thanks everyone for the support, and if you have any questions, feel free to stop by the forum and ask them. And thanks again, guys.